And in the animal tissues, we have discussed about the epithelial tissues, three types. The basic three types, that is the epithelium, that is squamous epithelium, second cuboidal epithelium, and the third columnar epithelium we have done, right? So now coming to the further is, I told you that there are certain modifications which are seen in the cuboidal as well as the columnar epithelium itself. Both of these can show, both or either of these, right? Cuboidal and columnar epithelium, they can show the presence of the glands or cilia. If they are having the cilia associated on their surfaces, that is ciliated epithelium will be named, right? It can be ciliated cuboidal, it can be ciliated columnar. So that is the fourth category of the epithelium is the ciliated epithelium. In general, we are naming it as ciliated epithelium or ciliated epithelial tissue. As the name is saying that the cilia will be present in this now. The cilia that which are present or associated, like if say I will be making the diagram of this column shaped cells, that which we had already drawn the last time. For the column shaped cells, these are more long than wide, that is their width is less as compared to the length. And these are all arranged over the basement membrane. Any membrane, any tissue which can be acting as a base for it, over which these tissues are arranged. Now, if these cells are the column-shaped cells, columnar cells, the nucleus condition is also varying. That is, the conditions are same. That is, all the cell conditions are same, except one. Now, these will be bearing the, or they'll be having their cilia on the top surface. So, these are the nuclei that which are elongated and near the boundary walls or near the base. Basically, they are near the base, right? Not near the top surface. At the surface, you have not to make these nuclei for the column shaped cells. You can make it on the either side, but make these as extended nuclei. Okay, so you can make it on the either side of the cell like this, and also near to the base. It should not be near to the surface. So this is the nucleus, columnar epithelium. Also ciliated now. So being ciliated, there will be presence of the basal granules that which are arranged just near the surface, and from these granules arises the hairy structures or the hairy small projections called as cilia. So like this will be arranged from the surface, there will be arrangement of the cilia that will be covering the top layer completely. हाँ जी ठीक है. So this way you are to make the cilia organizing from the basal granules, and also having the cytoplasm down here in the cells. You will be making the cytoplasm and the labeling will be the same. Now these will be called as column shaped cells are there. You will be naming it as columnar. That is not wrong, but because they are having the special feature that of the cilia's arrangement, so they will be called as ciliated columnar. And if the cuboidal cells will be having, they will be called as ciliated cuboidal. Doing the labeling part for this, these are the small hairy projections called as cilia. These are the basal granules from which organizes the cilia. Then the cytoplasm, nucleus. These are the general features. When you are asked about to write the general features of this particular tissue, then you will be writing these features only, that the cells are, they may be of either shape, that is column shape or cuboidal shaped, right? Bearing the cilia on the top, the nucleus will be extended, that will be near the base. Like this only you will be categorizing all the features for this. Okay. So this is the fourth category of the epithelial tissue, that is the ciliated epithelium. The labeling part is same, except the two more labels have been added, that is the cilia and the basal granules. Now what is the role of these cilia here? The cilia are the hairy projections, and these hairy projections, they will be helping in passing the materials across the tissue. That is, in the easy continuity of the flow of the materials that which are going across this tissue, that will be helped by these cilia, they will be helped by these hairy projections. So that is the function added to the ciliated epithelium. They help in the movement of the materials across the tissue. Fine. Coming to the next, that is the fifth type of the tissue, epithelial tissues, that is glandular epithelium. Now, fifth category is that of glandular epithelium. As the name is saying, glandular means now it will be producing the glands. Glands are what? These are the smaller structures which are associated within the cells, and they are specialized to produce or to secrete the mucus. That is the chemical which is secreted by the glands. So, glandular epithelium. Accordingly, the glandular epithelium, according to the presence of these glands within the cells of the tissue, they can be unicellular or multicellular, right? So, this is unicellular condition of the glandular epithelium or multicellular condition of the glandular epithelium. Two types are there mainly for the glandular epithelium, that is unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular means that which is isolated, single, right? Uni means single, isolated, alone, right? If supposing there is a modification made in these cells, these can be ciliated, columnar, glandular as well. Okay, so if supposing this cell has been modified, I'm just drawing the diagram within it only. I'm modifying this cell over here. So let's say this cell has been modified, producing a gland. So the surface has now been embedded, that is, it has produced a gland like this near to the surface, and it has become secretive, right? So this has become secretive, and this is the gland with a neck that which will be secreting out the chemicals. So these are the secretions, the special secretions of the gland. They are called as, this is a gland, and the special secretions in general we are naming it as mucus. They may also bear the cilia over these areas where there is no embedding type of the layer or the membrane. Clear? You can see it from near. So this is a kind of the gland which is produced within the cell, that is the cell has been modified, and there are isolated cells of the unicellular type, that is some of these will be modified producing these glands. There will be one gland in one cell, right? And this specialized cell, that which bears the gland now, this specialized cell will be termed as a goblet cell. This will now be called as a goblet cell. Goblet, goblet cell. The one which is bearing the gland, the cells are called as goblet cells. Right? Example for the unicellular glandular epithelium is alimentary canal. It's not, you can say example, it is a location basically where you can see these unicellular or find these unicellular type of the glandular epithelium, that is alimentary canal. On the other hand, multicellular ones, the multicellular glandular epithelium, they'll be consisting of the cluster of these kind of the cells. There will be cluster of the cells arranged, right? And they are seen in the salivary glands. The salivary glands are the examples of multicellular glandular epithelium, where there will be not just a single one or an isolated one cell. There will be cluster of cells. Number of cells will be there in one glandular cell. There will be number of the cells that which will be secretive. Okay. So this is the fifth category of the epithelium, and the main role of all the epithelial tissues is that is they are all lining type of the tissues. They provide the lining and they also help in absorption. All the kind of the epithelial tissues, they help in absorption as well as lining. There is one that is glandular which becomes secretive, and the one that is ciliated, these are the modified ones, that which becomes ciliated, that helps in the better movement of the materials. Okay. So this is what, these are the five types of the epithelial tissues. Okay, there was also one condition, that is a categorization of the glandular epithelium on the basis of the secretions code, that is on the another criteria. As according to another criteria, on the basis of, you can write, on the basis of secretions code, these can be poured either into directly into the target site or they are sent indirectly to the target site. So depending upon that, these can be further categorized as to two types, that are the exocrine glands or endocrine glands. Exocrine glands or endocrine glands. Exocrine glands, as the name is saying, exocrine glands, these are, we have already studied in the 10th standard also. Exocrine glands are the ones that which have the duct. They are having the duct, right? They are ducted, that means they have the tubular structure that which directly pours the secretion into the target site, right? That is the attached organ with it. Okay, so it directly pours the secretion, directly pours the secretions into the organ associated. Into the organ associated means that which is attached directly, right? For example, exocrine gland. Pancreas acts as both exocrine as well as endocrine. If we talk about the pancreas, we know that there is a duct-like structure, that of the pancreas. These are having the pancreatic ducts also. We have studied for the digestive system in the 10th class, though it was not there in your syllabus for +1. So we have not studied it this year. So otherwise you might be remembering this leaf-like structure is a pancreas. Because of these ducts, it is directly pouring the secretion into what? That is the C-shaped organ, duodenum. So the organ associated is duodenum, that is the small intestine. So accordingly, this is called as exocrine. If it is pouring the secretions into the directly into the target site, that is where their action has to be taken place. So it is called as exocrine. And there was the presence of duct also. The ducts are also being used and direct pouring is okay. So this is the exocrine gland. Coming to the next is a, also in the exocrine gland, the secretions are in the form of enzymes. You can write this also. These secretions are enzymes. Enzymes means biocatalyst. That means the ones that which will be helping in the actions like digestion and all. That will be helping in some of the reactions to increase that rate of the reaction. Okay. Then there are endocrine glands. The endocrine glands on the opposite end, they are ductless. Ductless means they are not provided with any ducts, right? Also, their pouring of the secretions is not direct one. It is indirectly sent to the target site, right? The secretions are indirectly sent to target organ or to the target site. That is with the help of bloodstream. Now, just now I told you that the pancreas acts as both. That is for the exocrine as well as endocrine. So, when it is secreting out the pancreatic juices that for the digestion which are required, it is exocrine. But when it is secreting the insulin and glucagon type of the hormones, then it is not throwing these insulin and glucagon through the pancreatic duct. They are directly pouring it into the bloodstream. And when the bloodstream, that is the blood vessels that carries it out, and it goes and then helps to allow the complete control of the sugar level, of the blood level and all, so that is its function is maintained, then we name it as an endocrine gland. Because of this action we name it as a endocrine gland. So whatsoever the secretions are provided by the endocrine glands, they are termed as hormones. Hormones show certain changes that for the related with the growth. Okay, so growth related changes, they can be there with the hormones. Okay, growth and development both, you can say. Okay, it is nothing like to fasten up the rate of the reaction. And also the hormones, they are not obtained back as the enzymes are obtained back as such. Now you have studied it for your in your chemistry also, that the catalyst are the chemicals that which fastens up the rate of the reaction, and they are then obtained as it is. You know, as they were added, they were obtained as it is back after the reaction is done. So are the enzymes. They are also called as a biocatalyst. But the hormones are different. They are consumed by our body for the developmental changes or for the growth changes. Okay. So these are the second category of the glands that which are called as the exocrine as well as the endocrine glands. And accordingly, they have their different, you can say, differences are there. Different features are there for both the glands, that is exocrine and endocrine glands. Okay. So this was about the 5 types of the epithelial tissue, that is starting from the first squamous, second cuboidal, third columnar, fourth ciliated epithelium, and the fifth glandular epithelium. Okay. Now within these type of the cells, there are certain junctions also that which are provided by the tissue linings to the other tissues, that the cells which are attached to it, those attachments, they are termed as the junctions. So there are 3 types of the cell junctions. Now the next topic is, what are the types of cell junctions? 3 types of cell junctions are present, that which allows the cells of one kind to attach to the cells of another kind, right? The 3 types of the cell junctions are, number 1 is tight junctions, second is adhering junctions, and the third is gap junctions. Fine. Tight junctions, as the name is saying, that the junctions will be made tightly, that is they are clustered or they are joined tightly. Okay. Tight junctions, they help in stopping out all the substances from being leaked, right? That is, from if any one cell is there, then that particular cell will not be leaking out all the material into the another. The junctions are very tight, right? So they are the tight junctions. Okay. Adhering junctions are the ones that which help to adhere. Adhere means to cement, that is to join the things. The cell's internal medium is also joined through the adhering junctions, right? Okay. Neighboring cells together, they can be kept as adhered ones. Because of these junctions, the second junction is called as the adhering junctions. Okay. Then there are gap junctions. Gap junction, as the name is saying, gap means that is there will be certain gaps in between the cells, right? Why that gap is required? So that the easy diffusions of the materials can take place, right? Sometimes because of the complete joining of the 2 types of the layers of the cells, let's say there is one layer and then another layer which is completely joined, the receptors, they are being blocked, right? There are certain receptors on the inner membrane like this, let's say, and these get blocked. So if they will be blocked, there will be no passing of the materials from them. So there is particular gap which is maintained in such 2 types of the membranes, so that the material is diffused out easily from the first membrane and it is taken from the second membrane very easily, right? So such type of the gap is also maintained in between for the easy diffusion of the materials. So accordingly, they are called as the gap junctions. So tight junctions are to be fixing the cells very tightly, adhering, they are joining it and making the proper passage through. And the gap junctions, they are having the proper gap in between so that the easy material passage can be made or maintained. Fine. Anji, beta, your questions now, please. So coming to the second tissue, that is the second type of the animal tissue, that is the connective tissue. First we have studied epithelial and now I'm coming to connective tissues. As the name is saying, connective. Connective means these are to connect the 2 types of the cells or 2 types of the tissues basically. So these tissues, they are called as connective only because they are type of the cementing tissues. Cementing means they are joining the two together, the 2 layers, the 2 type of the tissues together. So that is why they are called as a connective tissues. In these tissues, except one, that is except the blood, there is the presence of the special, you can say the secretions of the special fibers are there, that which are made up of the 2 types of the proteins. No, actually just one type of a protein it is, that is a collagen protein, or it is also termed as a elastin protein. Okay, so this is except the blood tissue, that is a category of the connective tissue. All the other types of the tissues, whatsoever you'll be studying here, they contain the elastin protein or the collagen proteins. They actually are having the cells that which secrete these type of the fibers. These fibers are made up of these type of the specialized proteins which are called as a collagen or elastin protein. Okay, so except blood, there will be all in all the other types of the cells, all the other types of the tissues, the cells will be secreting the fibers which are made up of these specialized proteins, right? So that is collagen or elastin. Now, accordingly, these particular connective tissues, they also have the specialized secretion of the polysaccharides. There is also the secretion of polysaccharides, that which immerses the different type of the cells into the common medium, and that medium is these polysaccharides that helps to make that medium, and that medium or the fluidy medium, that is called as a matrix, in which all the different types of the cells which are concerning to one kind of a tissue, connective tissue, they'll be all immersed together. Okay, so there is a matrix. We'll be studying the diagrams, and along with you'll be also getting to know about the different types of these tissues, right? And different accordingly you will be also knowing about the different cells which are immersed in the tissues, right, forming the one kind of the category of the connective tissue. Now, categorizing the connective tissues, these are further of three types. There are specially arranged three types of the connective tissues. What are the three types of the connective tissue? They are, number one is the loose connective tissue, loose connective tissue. Second is dense connective tissue. And the third is specialized connective tissue. Specialized connective tissue. Specialized connective tissue, loose connective tissue, and dense connective tissue. Okay. Coming to the names of these loose, dense, and the specialized ones. Loose and dense connective tissue, first of all. For the loose connective tissue, as the name is saying, the materials that which are the binding materials of this type of tissue, they are loosely arranged. They are not very compactly arranged, they are loosely arranged, right? So the connective tissue that which has the fibers which are loosely arranged, I told you that each and every type of the tissue except one, that is blood, will be having the fibers which are made up of these type of the protein. Okay, so here in the loose connective tissue, the basic feature is that the fibers are loosely arranged. They are not giving any compact arrangement, that is, they are loosely arranged, right? Examples of the loose connective tissue are two types of the tissues are arranged in this. Number one are the areolar tissue, areolar connective tissue, and the second is adipose connective tissue. Fine. We'll be understanding all the parts and the subparts of these areolar as well as adipose connective tissue. Coming to the second, for the dense connective tissue, there are further two types. That is the dense, they are compactly arranged, but are they arranged in a proper patterns or they are arranged in the irregular patterns? So we say them as dense, regular. The two further categories of this will be dense, regular connective tissues, or second category, that of dense, irregular connective tissues. The dense regular connective tissue, that further comprises of the two types of the tissues, that are tendons and ligaments. Tendons and ligaments from the dense regular connective tissue, that in which the fiber shows a proper regular arrangement of the fibers is there, that is a parallel arrangement of the fiber is there, which is also compactly arranged. So they are of the two categories, that is the tendons and the ligaments. You all have studied this in your lower classes, but still we are to do these as according to our own syllabus now. And the specialized connective tissues, these are the extra kind of the tissues that which have been specialized, forming some different types of the structures is involved in it. And the tissues which are involved in this are the number one, skeletal tissue, that is comprising of bone and cartilage. You can mention here the skeletal tissue. Number one is the skeletal tissue. The skeletal tissue, that which comprises of bones and cartilages. And the second type of the tissue, that which is found as a specialized, is the fluid tissue, that which we already have studied the components of, that is the blood and the lymph. From the chapter of body fluids, we have already studied the components of the blood and its features. So this is the specialized type of the connective tissue. So here in this now we are to study all in details about the different types of the connective tissues, that is areolar, adipose, then this is dense regular connective tissue, skeletal and fluid. The five major categories, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. What about the dense irregular connective tissue? We have already studied these five categories in our ninth class also, but we have not touched this particular part, that is the dense irregular connective tissue. Actually, this is a kind of the tissue that which is highly spread in our body and it is irregularly arranged, and that which is seen in the skin. So the skin that provides one kind of a connective tissue itself, and that is called as a dense irregular connective tissue. Okay, so skin is also kind of a connective tissue and that is belonging to the category of dense irregular connective tissue. Fine. Now coming to the detailed descriptions of this, that I'll be starting by tomorrow. Now if you have any questions, you can please ask me.